We need to put an outfit together for Saturday night. On Saturday night, we are going to the Royal Albert Hall with 3 of our favorite besties. We're going to a Ministry of Sound gig. It's a bit of a mashup. There's a classical orchestra playing a lot of very popular dance tracks with laser beams. So it's going to be fun, but we need an outfit. I have this dress that I inherited from my sister. It's got this wrap front, little bow, a few tears going down here. It's one of those inoffensive dresses, really. But I did like the colors. I like the blue. These are my blues. And so I thought, well, okay, it's free. And I'll take it. But I haven't worn it yet. Funnily enough, because I'm now in my little mini era, I'm really feeling this whole little mini dress tiered boho thing at the moment. So I looked at the dress this morning and I was like, could we make her work? Maybe with a pair of chunky black boots, maybe with my black hat and sort of edge her up a bit. So what I thought it might be fun to do with her is to shorten her. It's that sort of length where it's just above the knee. She's not cool enough to be a sort of little mini, almost too modest kind of thing. First of all, we're going to try her on and see how she looks right now. And then I think we might think about shortening her. And we could see about turning the lining into more of a pair of shorts rather than just chopping it and leaving it as a skirt. But again, I'm just conscious of time and my appetite for going too far into something seriously fancy. So it might just be a case of shortening the dress and the slip. But anyway, let's go in for the try on. Let's see what she looks like. And then let's see how we feel about being able to alter her and potentially style her up for our Ministry of Sound gig on Saturday night. Okay, here we go. So yeah, you see what I mean? It just looks a little bit... She's not giving modern and edgy right now. She's giving standard. So I just think if we shorten her so that she gets a little bit more rock and roll, a little bit more cheeky, but we still keep that fullness in it, I think that would just look really cute. Chunky black boots, maybe my black hat, so we can edge her up a little bit. Maybe even a little statement necklace or something. And then what about the sleeves? Right now, the sleeves are gathered into this really thin little bit of binding. It's got a little placket, again, with some binding and a little button. Nothing offensive about it, but it's also not making any kind of statement one way or the other. So it might be that with the bottom tier of this, we could maybe do something slightly more exciting with the sleeve. We could create a flounce or something, have it a bit more statement and draping out, even if we brought that back into a cuff a bit lower down. Because I think there's something quite nice about the balance of having a bit of a micro mini, well, it's not quite a micro, it's just a mini, with a long statement sleeve. I think there's something quite dreamy and boho about that. It's got a slip down here at the bottom and also on the top. However, it's not one slip under the dress. The top bit is stitched into this seam, and the bottom of the slip is also stitched into the seam. As you can see, when I jiggle that, the whole thing moves with it. It's not a problem, it's just a consideration, really. So let's get into the alteration. Let's start with taking off the bottom tier of the dress. Then we will pin up the slip and come back for the try on so we can see what she looks like at her new cropped length. So let's get her to the cutting table and let's get cracking. Let's start by taking the bottom tier off the dress. What we have here on the outside is an overlock stitch and a chain stitch, which is good news because that should unravel pretty nicely and easily. Just need to work out what direction. And there she goes, like a dream. And now let's undo the overlocking. I'm just going to release a few of the needle stitches until I've got a thread tail here. I'm going to go a little bit a ways, cut the needle thread, and then pull. And then the loop of threads just release. Okay, that's the bottom tier gone. Let's now pin up the slip and see how she looks. Here we go for try on number 2. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. She is short. And that's not even hemmed. I don't even dare raise my hands. That's not what we're aiming for. Okay, well, let's go into solution mode. There are various things we could do here, but let's try and work out the best thing to do. Let's do a bit of laying out and let's see where we land. Let's have a look at how we might reincorporate this offcut. Now, if we just trim down the bottom 2 tiers, how does that look? because now we'll have a longer vertical stripe effect here, but a shorter one at the bottom. I don't know if that would look a bit weird. Let's take a photo. That looks all right. It doesn't look too weird. I think that actually looks okay. Or would it look better if they were all the same? Let's see how it would look if all the tiers were the same. So we shortened each one to the same width. The other idea is to leave these first two the same width as they are and just make a little mini ruffle with the bottom one, because I can cut this in half, and so we'll have double the length that we can use to create an even more exaggerated ruffle. Just depends if that little mini ruffle will look a bit weird or not. I don't know. Let's measure this bottom tier. We've got 7.5 inches, and that goes all the way to the bottom of the seam allowance here. On the bottom tier, we have got, oh, it is a bit longer. This one's a whole inch longer. Oh, so they increase in length. This one is 6.5, 7, finished. This would have been 8. If we were to do the thing of shortening each layer, it'd be a little bit of a pain in the bum because it looks like this was gathered and overlocked at the same time. Quite how they did that, I don't know. Must have been a special machine. So it'll be a bit more of a pain for us because we'd have to do the gathering separately, then attach it all. We're looking for the path of least resistance here. So where we've landed is, I'm going to take an inch off the middle tier, and that will make it the same width as the top one. So the top two will be the same width. And then I will chop the bottom tier down to the length I need to create the final length that I want the skirt to be. And then we will make that into a little mini ruffle that goes all the way along the bottom. Let's do the mathing. Top tier, we've got 6.5 inches as a finished width. So if you want the bottom one to be 6.5 inches finished width, at the moment it is 7.5 with about a ½ inch seam allowance. So we need to shorten that by ½ inch, which will leave us a ½ inch seam allowance, which will give us a 6.5 finished allowance. And if we wanted to add an extra 3 inches to what was the dress when I wore it, so that is 7.5 plus 3 gives us 10.5. If that is now the 6.5 there, so 1, 2, 3, 4, we need to add 4 inches as the bottom frill. So that needs to be 4.5 inches so that we get the 4 finished plus 1/2 seam allowance. So we need to trim this down to 4.5 inches. Does that feel right? Yeah, let's go with that. I'm not going to mark it. I'm just going to eyeball it because it's pretty much just taking off what was the original seam allowance. So let's just go around and just cut about ½ inch off the bottom of this middle tier. Now for this last tier, I don't think we need to be too precious about marking and cutting. I've just got it here folded in half widthways. I'm just going to pin the two layers together so that the bottom hem pretty much lines up. I'm going to place my pins just above the measurement that I want to cut it down to. So I want to cut it down to 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to go maybe like ½ inch above that. And that's going to be my cutting guide, as well as doing the function of holding the two layers together. And now let's go ahead and cut. You can finally get to the machine. I'm going to run my first line of gathering stitches. So I'm going to take my tension right down, and I'm going to take my stitch length right up. Quite a wide panel to gather in here, so I am going to run this gathering stitch in intervals so that I don't have to gather the entire panel just with one thread. So now I'm coming up to the seam. I'm going to end the first line of gathering stitches there. Oh dear, the machine did not like that at all. Can you see those lumpy threads there? So I think the tension might have been a bit too low. Let's take the tension back up to 4 and see if she is any happier with that. Okay, she is a lot happier now. We've got the gathering stitches run here now, so I want to put this right sides together with the bottom of the dress, and then we are going to pin and then gather the fabric to match. Pinning the two side seams together first. Now let's pin center back. And now center front, but we haven't got a center front seam. So I'm just going to find center front by folding. And then the ruffle does have a seam to match. Let's anchor the gathering stitch on one side. And we are going to pull with the other until we match the ruffle with the dress. Slightly tedious process, and it seems like when the dress was constructed they had a very efficient way of doing this on their overlocker, but I do not know such dark arts, so we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. Our ruffle is pinned in place and gathered to perfection. We're now going to take her to the machine and stitch her together. Oof, stabby little pins everywhere. Oh my good god, this is going on forever. Okay, here we go for try on number 3. Well, that's better. Happy with that new length. I think she looks super cute, super fresh. I can just about lift my arms and still stay relatively modest. That's how she looks from the back. Yeah, much happier. So now we are going to finish off the stitching on this. We're going to overlock the raw edge of here, and then we're going to cut and hem the slip. I've just taken the pins out of the slip so that I can mark where I want to shorten the slip to. I think we'll go just to below where this bottom tier starts, because it might be nice to have a little cheeky sheer little panel at the bottom, because the sleeves are sheer, the sleeves have no lining, so I think it makes sense to mirror that effect on the bottom as well. I'm just going to take one of my pins and I'm just going to mark roughly where I want the slip to be shortened to. That feels like it might be a little bit low. I'm going to go up a little bit higher. Pinning on yourself is not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes it takes a few goes to get it right. Yeah, that feels about right. Okay, we've got our pin. We are going to shorten the slip by that much to give this finished length. Now, I still have this offcut from the bottom of the dress, which would be a shame to waste, really. I could put it at the end of the sleeve and create a flounce or something like that, but I don't know that I'm that bothered about modifying the sleeve, in all honesty. I think it's fine as it is. I just feel like I could add a little ruffle or flounce the end of the sleeve here so that it mirrors the bottom, but I just feel like it will just make an okay sleeve still okay. I don't think it'll make it amazing. So I don't know that it's really worth making that change, but I did have another brainwave. Because we're shortening the slip, and the slip will be quite short underneath, I thought maybe we can add this as a little ruffle to attach to the bottom of the slip, because we would be able to lengthen the slip a little bit, because I didn't want the slip to be too long, because I just think the slip material, I don't know, it just doesn't look quite that nice. So if I had a little ruffle at the end of the slip, what you'll see at the bottom of the slip, if the dress does blow up a little bit, is dress fabric, which I think is quite a sweet little touch. So I think we'll do that. We're going to gather the top of this, we'll hem the other end of it, and then we will attach it to the bottom of the cut slip. What are you doing, Maxie? Having your morning ablutions? Mm-hmm. Morning ablutions. Okay, carry on. Don't mind me. Alrighty, let's get our overlocker out and thread it up. Bit of a switcheroo. Let's just start with the overlocking of the seam to neaten up these raw edges. Now, because the bottom layer of this is gathered, I'm having to just do this overlocking just bit by bit, making sure that all the gathered seam allowance on the other side is just pointing this way nice and flat, and that I'm not going to be accidentally catching any of the gathering from this side of the fabric. What will happen if you're not careful is you end up either not catching a bit of the bottom fabric, like I have done here, or you end up accidentally catching one of your gathers from the tier below. So just take your time and just do it section by section. It's a bit tedious, but you don't want to make any horrible cutting errors here. We've got that seam nice and neatened. Now let's see about shortening the slip and attaching the new ruffle at the end of it. I've got the pin here where I want the finished length of the slip to be. So I want to just add a little bit of a seam allowance because we need a seam allowance to attach the ruffle to it. What I'm going to do is measure the distance from the pin to the hem. And what we've got here is roughly 7 inches. And I'm just going to give myself a 1/2 inch seam allowance to attach the ruffle. So I'm just going to put a little mark here. So effectively we are going 6.5 inches from the bottom. So I'm just going to make that mark all the way across. I can either do it by putting my measuring tape here at 6.5, or I can just put it on 7 and then mark myself a 1/2 inch down. Either way, it works out the same. So I'm just going to do that all the way around, and then we are going to cut along those marked lines. And now let's cut the slip. Just cutting it along the line of markings I just made. Now we're going to take this offcut. We're going to run 2 lines of gathering stitches along the top of it, and then we are going to attach it to the bottom of the slip. We've got the gathering stitches run here now, and we've got that pinned to the slip at the sides, center front and center back. I'm going to pull these gathering stitches in until the length of the ruffle matches the length of the slip. Okay, that'll do. Now I'm just going to wind those ends of thread around the needle like that. Just even out the gathers a bit. We've got everything pinned and gathered now, so let's take her to the machine and let's attach the two together. I'm just sewing that frill now onto this bottom of the slip, and this time I actually did 2 lines of gathering stitches. When I reattached the tier to the bottom of the dress, I only did 1. I was being lazy, but it is such a false economy because when you do 2, it's so much easier to control the gathering, and it means that now I can do my actual stitch in between the 2 lines of gathering, and it gives me the option to remove the gathering stitches. Well, I'll need to remove one of them anyway, otherwise it'll be visible on the right side. But it just makes it so much easier to sew, so much easier to control. So it's actually a really false economy just doing 1 line of gathering stitches. We've got that frill now attached and overlocked onto the bottom of the slip. So that's what we're looking like from the right side. We'll have to give this all a press at the end, but all that's left to do sewing wise now is just hem the bottom of this frill at the bottom of the slip. We are just going to do a very simple double turned hem. So let's get to the machine. We're not going to pre-press or anything. We're just going to fold and stitch as we go. Let's just start here. A bit tricky starting over one of the bulky bits, but it doesn't really matter that much. So let's just double turn. as narrow a hem as we can get. Hem is all done. Now, time to give her a final press. Alrighty, let's just go in for one last try on with the finished dress. Yeah, quite pleased with it. I know it was an awful lot of work to go through for what just seems like a really small effect, but I'm happy we did that. I think I'll wear this dress a lot more now. So just to give you a little peekaboo of the slip, that's how she's looking underneath. So yeah, all good. After all the work altering this dress, we may be in danger of falling at the last hurdle because I feel like I have no outerwear to go with this dress. And we are going to need some outerwear on Saturday because it's probably going to be raining and it's probably not going to be that warm. When I envisage styling this, I see the chunky black boots, possibly my black hat if it's not too windy, but what I see is a bit of a rock and roll inspired, like a black leather aviator jacket with like a sheepskin lining, very specific, I know, slightly oversized fit that would go over the dress, but we haven't got that. And it's very unlikely we'll acquire one between now and Saturday, especially bearing in mind I'm meant to be having a no-buy year. I'm going to last-ditch attempt to make this blue dress work for tomorrow night. I'm just heading over to my friend Kerry's. She's got a gilet version of the jacket that I have in mind for the dress. So I'm going to go over to hers, try it on, and see if it works. This is Kerry's dog, Molly. We have acquired the gilet. I will save the try-on for home. Well, for tomorrow. We'll have all that drama tomorrow, but seems promising. Thanks, Keza. I am back from the Lambeth show, and it is a quick change now into tonight's outfit, and then we're going to be heading up to town to meet up with my besties for our Ministry of Sound gig. All right, let's get into the outfit. I'm going to keep all of my jewelry on. This is the jewelry I was wearing earlier, and I guess it works. Do we want to just shorten it there, leave the whole thing? Yeah, just leave the whole thing. Let's now add in the gilet. I am really curious to see what these two look like together. Now, the gilet is a little bit big, but I don't mind the oversized fit, actually. I think it's all right. It's not like I've got anything else to wear. I literally do not have anything else to wear with it. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's fine. We are going to add in our chunky black boots, and I might add my hat in as well. Should we have sheer black's tights and then the boots? Do the old squatteroo. Let's get the hat on. See how we're feeling about this. Okay, so that's what she looks like with the gilet. This is how she looks once we are indoors. I feel like the tights are winterizing her a little bit too much. So let's lose the tights. Okay, final look, I think. Hat, dress, no tights, little peekaboo sock, black boots, gilet. All right, I think we'll live with this. So this is our final look. All right, let's go. Oh, from the crowd. Besties convening. Oh. What's the fit? Oh,
I've been sewing.
have you?
I ripped it. Photo of us, please.
Oh, actually, video first and then photo.
Video and then. Okay, video. Wait, am I doing a video as well? The video first?
Yes.
Okay.
Video first and then photo.
All right, got tickets. We'll party.
Arena. So very next door.
Lovely. So you need the second floor.
Thank you very much. That was a gig and a half. Was that so good? Oh, oh my god, my hat. Bye. Oh. See you guys soon. Yeah. And that is a wrap on the evening. Yeah, an amazing night. So, see you in the next one.